Hello and welcome to ESET's presentation of Ransomware Reality Check, Protecting Your Business Today. So today we will be going over what is ransomware, including the history of it, common ransomware infection vectors, best practices related to ransomware prevention, and finally how ESET keeps you safe from ransomware. First, the basics. Ransomware is first just another type of malware. The unique thing about it is that it's used for extortion. When activated, it prevents access to a device or the data on it until the victim pays a fee. It can also have a built-in timer with a payment deadline. If you do not pay by the deadline, you permanently lose access to your data. There are two main types of ransomware: locker and crypto. Locker denies access to the entire computer or device and does not actually encrypt any files. Because it is simply blocking access to utilizing your device, it is more easily removed. But this is where the social engineering comes into play. While the screen is being displayed, their hope is that they can convince you to pay them to hopefully remove the screen. This actually functions very similar to fake AV schemes, where they convince you that your computer is infected, and the only way to fix your computer is by utilizing their product. Crypto, on the other hand, does not lock you out from the device, but prevents access to actual files or data. Sometimes this involves encryption, but not always. And really, this sort of ransomware is preying on users or companies who do not utilize offline backups. Later on, we will talk about why offline backups are extremely important, rather than just any kind of backups. No matter the ransomware, they have similar consequences, which are potentially losing access to crucial resources such as your files, data, or entire devices. So this could include things such as pictures, tax returns, and other important information you may have on that device or devices. Ransomware, since its initial introduction in 1989 with the AIDS Trojan, has constantly evolved its techniques. From taking certain files off your computer and dropping them in password-protected zip files, to asking you to pay a ransom by sending a text to a premium SMS number, to impersonating fake AV or the police or FBI. Now, almost all ransomware utilizes bitcoins for payment to make the creators harder to track. Ransomware also has become more dangerous due to new distribution vectors, such as leveraging exploits or PowerShells. Now it has become even easier for ransomware to run on a device by fully leveraging JavaScript, and it has become even easier for it to spread, as we saw with WannaCry and its utilization of exploits on Windows. Looking through this timeline, you can see ransomware is not something brand new, but something that has existed for a while and has constantly evolved as the threat landscape has changed. Here are the names of some of the notable ransomware variants that we have seen throughout the years. I am sure you have heard of quite a few of these. It is important to stress that ransomware is not just a Windows problem, but as you can see from the slides, exists on Android, Mac OS, and Linux. In some instances, these sort of attacks can be worse because still today most people do not protect their Android, Linux, or Mac OS devices. This means that if someone deploys a threat on Windows, typically they need to bypass the OS and their endpoint security product. However, on other OSs, they just need to bypass any OS protections that exist due to the lack of any endpoint security product being installed. So let's take a look at some of the ransomware variants in more detail. In 2013, CryptoLocker burst onto the scene, which utilized very strong encryption, actually a 2048-bit RSA key pair. After the creation of this encryption key, it uploaded it to their command and control server and began encrypting only certain files on your computer. Then the malware threatened to delete the private key if the Bitcoin payment was not made in 3 days of infection. After the deadline passed, this Bitcoin ransom was increased to 10 bitcoins. It was estimated that at least $3 million was extorted with this malware prior to it being shut down. Then, in 2017, we saw WannaCryptor, also known as WannaCry Strike. WannaCry infected Windows machines, and unlike typical ransomware that may infect one or two people in a company if they both opened an infected email or website, this quickly spread through the company, infecting multiple people or entire organizations. The reason it was able to spread or function like a worm of old was due to the inclusion of an external blue exploit. The external blue exploit was one of the NSA exploits released by the shadow brokers weeks prior to the WannaCry attack. Finally, the future of ransomware. As more and more people acquire smart devices, smart cars, and smart homes, and enjoy the convenience of internet-connected devices, malicious actors may begin attacking these devices directly and hold them for ransom. If you lock someone out of their home, then they are unable to utilize anything contained inside of it. Rather than with the ransomware today, you are only locking them from using their computer. But they also could do this to any internet-connected device. For instance, they could restrict access to your car, your house, your thermostat until the ransom is paid. Now, ransomware infection vectors. The most common infection vector for ransomware is via malicious email attachment. Email comes in and contains malicious attachments. Most malicious attachments need to be opened in order to properly execute and infect the computers. So they have to utilize social engineering to convince users that they should open the attachment. What malicious actors will do is pretend to be a mail service colleague at work, family member, or many other things, all with the hopes that somebody will open the attachment. Oh, and people definitely do open those attachments. According to the Verizon Data Breach Report of 2016, 12% of people opened attachments in phishing emails the year before. Next, most common is from malicious websites and the utilization of drive-by downloads. Drive-by download is basically when you go to a website and a download either tells you it is something that you want and not actually a piece of malware, or when you go to a site and something automatically gets downloaded to your computer without your knowledge. Then finally, ransomware can infect you by being installed by another piece of malware, downloader, or backdoor. So after you are initially infected by a piece of malware, that piece of malware then downloads a ransomware variant that infects. On the mobile side, there are a few different ways you can get infected. First, visiting untrusted or unsafe sites. Next, false warning pop-ups indicating that you are required to update something. When you click update, you are brought to a malicious payloader. Automatic download of malicious apps. Once again, this is similar on the computer side, where the download can happen automatically. Then finally, manual installation by the user, where the user may think they are downloading something safe or benign, and in fact are just downloading malware directly to their mobile device. If you ever get infected by ransomware, you should immediately disconnect the device from the internet and power off the device. Next, you should contact your IT department, who should then contact both the endpoint security vendor support team and law enforcement. Typically, law enforcement have teams that handle electronic crimes, including ransomware. On to ransomware prevention. When it comes to ransomware prevention, a multi-layer approach is very important and is made up of a few different categories. First, email filtering. Due to the fact that the majority of ransomware is entering via email attachment, you can provide a first layer of defense by having a solution that properly filters for spam and phishing emails. Then, based off your company's policy, you can block all attachment types that your business does not traditionally want being sent via email. Of course, the more types you block, the less you will have to worry about malware being delivered via email attachment. Keep in mind, lots of ransomware have historically been delivered via Office files such as docs, so you will need to block more than just .exes. Next, web filters. By implementing a web content filter, you should be able to block malicious websites, as well as any website you deem inappropriate for work use. Filtering internet access can help to reduce the infection rate of your organization. Next, patching. As we saw with WannaCryptor, an unpatched system allows the ransomware to enter the system as well as spread from system to system. So making sure first that your OS is as up to date as possible, but also making sure third-party software is up to date is extremely important. Along the same, you might want to think about locking systems down in order to stop ransomware and other threats that enter a computer through Office macros or require an administrator privileges. Next, endpoint security. When it comes to endpoint security or antivirus, anti-malware products, you want to make sure you're utilizing the newest version of the company's products and that the product is successfully retrieving its daily updates. If a vendor has a cloud component, make sure it's turned on, as this allows even faster response reactions to zero-day threats. ESET calls this component Live Grid. User training is next, and user training is important to reduce the amount of incidents your company has by teaching users what to look for and what to avoid when it comes to phishing and other malicious content. This also helps the user to report to the IT department when they notice something, which can allow the IT department to tweak the spam filter or bolster other defenses. Finally, backups. If you are ever hit with a ransomware attack, having backups will allow you to easily recover all of the data. However, it is important to stress that offline backups is what you need. Due to ransomware and its ability to encrypt network drives and now spread, you want to make sure your backups are never vulnerable to this sort of attack. So, in an offline state, guarantees that they will be available when you need them. After looking at the last slide, how many of you currently utilize a patch management system or offline backups? We will take a look at the results after this slide. If you get a ransomware infection, should you pay the ransom? At ESET, we advise all of our business and consumers not to pay the ransom. First, there is no guarantee that the cybercriminals will unlock your device or that the decryption process will work. If you do pay, that provides them a reason to continue their attacks as well as fuels future cyber attacks. Then, even if they do decrypt your files, cybercriminals now know you are a person who pays and can immediately attack you again. After infection, another thing to look into is decryptors. Decryptors are available from endpoint security vendor websites, including ESET. Because sometimes encrypted files can be decrypted, this could save you time rather than recovering all files from a backup. Also, depending on when your last backup was, a decryptor could provide a more recent version. Now, how does ESET specifically keep you from ransomware? First, a little information about ESET the company. ESET has been doing endpoint security now for 30 years. We have 1,200 employees worldwide, partners spanning 200 countries, and are the fourth largest business endpoint security vendor. ESET is very much a global organization, and we have offices and virus labs around the world. This helps us to see attacks in one region before they make their way to another region. ESET offers products for all the major OSs. Our endpoint products do not just protect against malicious content, but have the ability to serve as a web content filter and device control solution. ESET mail security filters not just for malicious content, but also for spam at the server level, and works with Exchange, Domino, Curio, and Linux mail servers. Implementing ESET mail security plus ESET endpoint products with web control and device control give you a multi-tiered or multi-layered approach to stop ransomware. Then within our endpoint security product itself, there are multiple layers of defense as well. ESET believes a multi-layer approach is the best approach to protecting users from the newest malware, including ransomware. ESET continues to evolve and add new protection technologies to stay one step ahead of the newest malware. This shows the additions we have made over the years to create a fully multi-layered approach, as we do not think a single one of these technologies is a silver bullet. When it comes to ransomware, we have a few protections that are the most important. Network attack protection is an extension of firewall technology and improves detection of known vulnerabilities on the network level. By implementing detection for common vulnerabilities in widely used protocols such as SMB, RPC, and RDP, it constitutes another important layer of protection against spreading malware. Network-conducted attacks and exploits of vulnerabilities for which a patch has not yet been released or deployed. Network attack protection was instrumental in the WannaCry, WannaCryptor outbreak. Network attack protection was actually blocking all of the NSA exploits released by shadow brokers already. So we were preventing the external blue exploit it was utilizing with this module. Pattern matching can be bypassed easily by simple modifications of the code or use of obfuscation techniques. However, the behavior of objects cannot be changed so easily. ESET's DNA detections are precisely designed to take advantage of this principle. We perform deep analysis of code, extracting the genes that are responsible for its behavior. Such behavioral genes contain much more information than the indicators of compromise, IOCs, that some so-called next-gen solutions claim to be the better alternative to signature detection. ESET's behavioral genes are used to construct DNA detectors, which assess potentially suspect code, whether it's found on the disk or in the running process memory. Additionally, our scanning engines extract many discriminator genes, which are used for anomaly detection. Anything which does not look legitimate is potentially malicious. Depending on the adjustable threshold level and matching conditions, DNA detection can identify specific known malware samples, new variants of a known malware family, or even previously unseen or unknown malware, which contain genes that indicate malicious behavior. In other words, a single well-crafted DNA behavioral description can detect tens of thousands of related malware variants and enable our antivirus software not only to detect malware that we already know about or have seen before, but also new, previously unknown variants. Moreover, automated clusterization and application of machine learning algorithms to our malicious sample sets allow us to identify new malicious genes and behavior patterns for detection by our scanning engine. Such genes can be easily matched against a huge whitelist set to ensure that they generate no false positives. The ESET Cloud Malware Protection System is one of several technologies based on ESET Cloud-based system, ESET LiveGrid. Unknown, potentially malicious applications and other possible threats are monitored and submitted to the ESET Cloud via the ESET LiveGrid feedback system. The samples collected are subjected to automatic sandboxing and behavioral analysis, which results in the creation of automated detection if malicious characteristics are confirmed. ESET clients learn about these automated detection via the ESET LiveGrid reputation system without the need to wait for the next detection engine update. The mechanism's turnaround time is typically under 20 minutes, which allows for effective detection of emerging threats even before regular detections are delivered to user computers.